The art life is a life lived around working. It could be working in any of the art forms. It could be working in cinema, painting, lithography, music. Every medium is infinitely deep. And when you get to know them, they'll let you go deeper. This is the art life. In cinema, there's many filmmakers that make films primarily to make money, and it's more called entertainment. I love money like everybody else, but probably I would do the things that I'd like to do for free. The most valuable thing I could impart to new filmmakers is what I always say: find your own voice. Be true to that voice. Never give up final cut and total creative freedom. Never take a bad idea, but never turn down a good idea. And I just like this process of catching ideas that I fall in love with and then realizing those ideas. And I like all these different steps of creating something. I love being in it. And I feel that when you're really in it, more ideas flow. You get into it deeper and deeper, and it's a thrilling, thrilling ride. All these different art forms are thrilling, thrilling to the soul. So if you love the ideas that come along, a deep love, you will find a way to realize those. Hello, everybody. My name is David Lynch, and this is my Masterclass. I always say ideas are everything. So I go where the ideas lead. It could be to the painting studio, it could be to an office to work on a computer, it could be a sound, room to work on sound. You go where the ideas are telling you to go, where you're fired up to do this or that. And that leads you, to those places. We're nothing without an idea. We don't know what to do without an idea. And the idea tells us everything. So it's common sense that ideas are super important. And I love the idea of catching ideas. And they're out there, millions and millions of ideas, and we don't know them until they enter the conscious mind. And then we know them. And we see them and hear them and feel them. We know the mood of them, even if it's just a small fragment of what could be a whole film or a painting or whatever. We fall in love with it for some reason. Something inside of us says, this is a great idea for me. And then you write that idea down on a piece of paper in such a way that when you read what you wrote, the idea comes back in full. Super important to write down your ideas so you don't forget them. I think I've forgotten 3 incredible ideas in my life. So write down your ideas and save them, because it's very important. And then we can talk more about catching ideas, but I do equate catching ideas with the thing of fishing. You have to have patience. And I say a desire for an idea is like a bait on a hook. And it's like putting a little piece of bait on a hook and lowering it into the water. And then you don't know when they're going to come or what will trigger them. But lo and behold, on a lucky day, bingo, you'll catch a fish, you'll catch an idea. And like I say, you don't see the fish down there, but when you bring it up out of the water, that's like the idea coming into the conscious mind. You see the fish. You see the details of it. You know, the fish's eyes, the mouth, the fins, all the shiny little scales. You fall in love with this little fish. And you write that idea down, and now you have even more bait, and you can lower that fish in, and other fish will swim to it that are part of that school, and you'll catch more and more fragments, and a script will start emerging. And it kind of goes like that for me. Another analogy is there's someone in the other room with a puzzle that's completely together, and they flip little one piece at a time into me. So you can imagine the first pieces of puzzle, they don't relate to anything. You might love the colors of them or the shape of them or something about them, but you just save those, and then more come in, and then you start seeing something emerge, and finally the puzzle's finished. When we get an idea that we love, it feels very, very good. You see it and feel it and know it all at once, but it's all at once, and it comes with like I always say, like a spark of electricity, inspiration kind of thing. But then you kind of calm down and more, leisurely examine it. And on examining it, it's like you turned on your TV and the first thing was like white flash. And then it kind of, comes it pops on an image, and that's the image. Then out comes a sound and a feeling, and you just see it. And then you write down what you see and what you hear and the mood, and you feel very, very good. You've got something. If it's a cinema idea, I like them for 2 reasons. One is the idea of itself, and the other is the way cinema could say that idea. And then you got something. And all you have to do then is focus on that. And that focusing means lowering it back into the water on a hook and waiting. I say intuition is the number 1 tool, really, of the human being. Intuition, the way I think about it, is mind and emotion, intellect and emotion together. It's a feel thinking. It's a knowingness. And it is extremely important. Everybody has this, but I don't think everybody has the same amount. It's like consciousness. They say every human being has consciousness, but not every human being has the same amount. The potential, however, for every human being is infinite consciousness, enlightenment, supreme enlightenment. And we could talk about that sometime too. And intuition is tied tied tightly to consciousness. You can't just wish for more intuition. You can't just imagine you have more intuition. Same way with consciousness. You can't just wish for more. You can't just imagine more. You got to go where it is and get more. It's like fishing. You can put your hook on a desert and lay it on the desert in the sand. You wait for a long time for a fish, maybe huge, huge ages of time before water and fish come. Anyway, so you've got to go where that the treasure is. I guess the analogy is the chef doesn't make the fish. The chef just cooks the fish, and the chef can cook it really, really high-end, fantastic, or it can cook it very poorly, maybe not even cook it all the way through, and people get sick. But the chef doesn't make the fish. Just like these ideas, the person catching the idea doesn't make the idea. It's crazy. We really rely on these gifts to do anything. A lot of ideas come from our world, and our world holds a lot of violence. Violence in the homes, violence on the streets, violence in the city, violence in the country, violence in all the countries. A lot of violence, a lot of corruption, a lot of suffering, a lot of tension, anger, hate, fear, a lot of mistakes. Prisons are full, hospitals are full. It's a mess. And it doesn't have to be this way, but it is the way it is. And ideas come from our world. Stories emerge from our world. And stories involve things that are in the world. You know, I always say, have the suffering and the violence and all the things of human nature, negative and positive, in the script, in the film, in this book, but not in your life. And that you don't have to suffer to show suffering on the screen or in a book. You can be very happy showing suffering. And that's the key to things. Stories all through time have had conflict and all these different things. But the ideas come from the world. They come from other places, it seems also, but a lot come from just our world, and the feeling of being in this world conjures these stories that come. Many things from our childhood stick with us, from our world, our friends, experiences, feelings, dreams. All these things go into the hopper and they swim around, and new things come in. All these new things come in and they swim around. And if you have time to daydream, they can conjure some things. And it's a very beautiful story. And everybody has these things swimming about. And the possibility is there that they can trigger ideas. Everyone's hopper is pretty full. And they say that the window to the hopper is wide open when we're growing up, taking in all these things. And for safety's sake, that window starts closing at a certain point, and you start working with what you've got in there. There's a story when I lived in Boise, Idaho, on Park Circle Drive. One night, I think it was around 9:30. You know, in the 50s, in small towns, there were street lights, but they were dimmer than the lights of today. And it was near a street light, near a street called Shoshone Avenue. And across the way, I was with my younger brother. Out of the darkness came a woman, completely naked, and she had skin the color of milk, and she wasn't walking quite properly. I didn't understand exactly what was wrong, and there might have been some blood on her mouth. She was pretty much oblivious to me and my brother as she came out of the darkness and walked and sat down on a curb. And I never seen an adult woman naked, and it was quite a powerful experience. And I knew that she was hurt and trouble, and I wanted to help her, but I didn't know what to do. It's not every day that you see a battered nude woman come out of the bushes, but these kind of things happen. And in this story, this happened.
Right in front of your own stupid house. Get out of here!
Mike, stop it!
Shut up! Just shut up, all right? Nobody's talking to you, all right? Come on.
Mike, look, I don't want to cause any problems.
Who's that, huh? Is that your mother? That's your mother, Jeffrey? No, come here, you Ivy. You shit.
Have someone's hurt.
No, didn't notice.
Dorothy Valance?
As far as people thinking, well, I don't have anything to say, maybe you don't. But on the other hand, that might be the wrong way to look at it. What might be better is to just daydream and catch some things that start a flow of ideas, just to see if a story comes that you like. And more ideas can come, and there might be something that you find inside that you really love. And then you say, oh, wait a minute, I do have something to say. I could say this thing that came to me. So it goes like that. Having time, which is so difficult in today's world, having time to daydream, to sit by yourself and daydream. It's really, really important for catching ideas and going over things, just daydreaming. From the outside, it looks like maybe you should take this person not necessarily to a hospital, but to maybe a psychiatrist, or you tell them to get a job. But it's real important. It looks like you're doing nothing. But what you're doing is so important for catching ideas. Have that time to sink into daydreaming, because it can go deeper and deeper, and you can catch things that you can't catch in any other way. As I said, I think that in this world today, people don't have a lot of time to daydream. But that's where one place where it can happen. But it could also happen at any moment doing anything. Because in the back of your mind, you've got that desire. You just keep that desire going. You can catch ideas. These fish can be flying fish. They don't need the water. They fly right to you. What scares fish away or makes it more difficult is stress, depression, sorrow, anxieties, tension, traumatic stress, hate, anger, and fear. All these things are in the family of negativity, and they restrict a lot of things. They restrict happiness and they restrict, sleep, and you get fatigued. Fatigue is not good for catching ideas. And they like I say, squeeze the tube through which the ideas flow. They cloud the mind, all these things. So give yourself a chance to get those ideas, and at the same time bring all these positive things along with them, things that you're going to need, like energy and like awareness, understanding, and it's real important. If you want to make a feature-length film, all you need to do is get 70 ideas, 70 scenes. And you write these 70 scenes on 3x5 cards, and you put them up, and when you have 70 of them, you've got a feature film. I never considered myself a writer, and I don't know how to spell. I don't know how to type. To me, writing is like a way just to remember ideas. Schools have developed a formula. This word formula in the Department of Writing is like death penalty crime. The thing I think should sort of come naturally and feel good. And that's just all of these ideas talking to you. I think revising the writing is part of the process. You don't want to be worried about how it comes out when it's starting to flow. But then as you go back later, when more and more has come in, you see that, that one is, talking too much and it's getting weak, and let's take those things out. And this is much better like that. This is the thing about a formula where they say that in the first, it's a 3-act formula, I think, or something like that. And I don't know what the latest formula is, but, something happens, and then it gets, into the nitty gritty, and then there's a resolution. All stories need a beginning. Where the middle is depends on where the end is, I guess. But in a continuing story, there could be theoretically no end. When it comes time to writing, I like to write. What I mean is like, The last time I was really writing was with Mark Frost on Twin Peaks. But at night, we would write over Skype, Mark being in Ojai, California, and me being in Los Angeles. And we worked during the day. At night, because I smoked cigarettes, my wife, Emily, would put me outside. And I would face east, and I would have yellow pads and a ballpoint pen, black, and cigarettes and red wine, Bordeaux. And I'd sit in this lawn chair and work like that. And if you have a yellow pad on your lap and a ballpoint pen, pretty soon that pen will start moving and words will come out. And you get on a thing. And I say, you know, even 90% can be, you know, worthless, horrible stuff. But maybe as you're writing what you're seeing or thinking, you'll catch a vein of gold and a thing will start pouring out. And that's sort of the way, I guess it is. You catch a vein. It could be a character, it could be a whole part of a story, it could be a scene. But you've got to be like in fishing with patience, and you've got to have a pole and a line and a hook. And you got to be, you know, ready for it to come in. Character comes from an idea, something that we see can trigger a character. Something can happen in a daydream where a character will just walk in. When they do come along, it's as if you always knew them. They appear as if out of nowhere. And again, it's like an idea. It is an idea. And you hear them talk, you know them as if you've known them for a long time. You know what they look like, you know what they're wearing, you know the way they are, how they speak, fast or slow, their timbre of their voice, their whole thing. You know them, and you write them down, and even the words, you know, they come out. They come out in a certain way based on that character that you know and who they're interacting with. A character is an idea, just like a location is an idea, a mood is an idea, sound is an idea, music is an idea, the way it needs to be based on the ideas that come. Mystery and detectives in cinema relate 100% to life. Most of us, we don't know where we were before we were born. We don't know for sure where we're going after. We don't know why we're here. We don't know much about anything. We're floating on a ball in something they call a universe on the edge of a galaxy with about 100 or 200 billion suns. And we are going to football games and watching TV. It's like pretty crazy. It's the way it is. And, but we're detectives, everybody. We're looking around when we have time. Sometimes it's just before we go to sleep, we start thinking maybe questions like, why am I here? What is going on? Or we see things in life and we say, whoa. Or we hear things and say, does that make sense? Do you think that's true? We use our intuition as detectives to see what's true and what's false and try to figure out what's going on. And I think that's one of the great things about detective stories. It relates to what life is telling us. The ideas, tell you everything. And if you think it's imagination, really, you say, I imagine, by the time you got the word imagine out, the ideas have already fed it to you. It's not really you imagining it, it's the flow of ideas. And that's where daydreaming comes in. Let's say there's a scene in a diner, and the diner has all these windows, and it's the daytime, and it's got the smell of cooking and coffee going, the sounds of the machines, and the refrigerator, thing cooling, working, and the sounds of the Coke machine going sometimes, the cash register, different things, and people going around, people talking, knives and forks, plates, formica, footsteps. Outside, some sounds are coming in, and a light is a certain way. It's in the Northwest, so it's a kind of Northwest feel, and kind of a cooler, bluer light coming in. It could still be, sometimes it can be warm and friendly, but depending on what's going on, you might want it to be bluer and colder. Then you might have something on the jukebox that fits in with the mood. And yeah, it comes with the idea. All these different things in the right mixture can get the mood to be true to the idea. A script is organized ideas. So the, say, future director picks up the script, opens the script, and starts reading. And when they're reading the script, they're picturing things and hearing things. What you're picturing and what you're hearing and what you're feeling when you read that script, it's just like catching ideas from the ether. And you remember what you saw, what you heard, and the feelings. And those are your ideas now to follow. And everything along the way of making the film, you try to remember those feelings that came through from the words, and what you saw and felt, and the mood, and the way people talked, and the way they were or what they were wearing, and the things in the room. All these things now are your guide to making the film, and stay true to every part of that thing that came in your mind because you fell in love with it. That's the thing you want to do. You got the idea, you're in love with the idea, all your ideas are together, say in a script. Now you go and you start putting all the elements together to make that idea a reality in the material world. Film is made up of many, many, many elements. So you have to be true to every single little tiny element in order to have a chance that the whole will hold together. And even so, if you're really true to every element and not walk away until they feel correct based on the idea, you can get a magical thing that they say the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. A magic thing can happen when these elements swim together, and boom, it's the magic of cinema. Anyone who reads a script, this same thing is happening. But now this is the one who's going to make the film. So this one is picturing this and hearing this and this like this for him or herself. Now The filmmaker's job is to get all the people that are going to help get this thing out of the head onto the screen. And that's going to involve talking to different departments and getting them to get the right clothes, the right light, the right this, the right that. So now this was alive in here, and now it's going to be alive on the screen. If it's new to you, it's new. They say there's nothing new under the sun. If it's new to you and you love the world, then you go. When is it okay to borrow? I guess it depends on borrowing or stealing. And so in Wild at Heart, Sailor and Lula, it just started creeping in that they just loved The Wizard of Oz and would make references to it because they loved it. And like so many other people, but it's kind of was strange that Sailor would like it, but it makes sense to me. It was a little bit stealing, I guess, but it made sense to the characters, and it, in my mind, it honors this great film, The Wizard of Oz, which is a film that's caused people to dream now for decades. And there's something about The Wizard of Oz that's cosmic, and it talks to human beings in a deep way.
Sailor, sailor.
The good witch.
Sailor Ripley, Luna loves you.
But I'm a robber and a manslaughterer, and I haven't had any parental guidance.
She's forgiven you all these things. You love her. Don't be afraid, sailor.
But I'm wild at heart.
If you're truly wild at heart, you'll fight for your dreams. Don't turn away from love, sailor. Don't turn away from love.
That's Sheryl Lee, who's also Laura Palmer. It's perfect that she floats down. I said, "Are you afraid of heights?" And she said no, because she didn't want to say the truth. She's desperately afraid of heights. We had her strung up really high. Fred Elms did a great job lighting that. He had this pool of water on plexiglass and was dancing lights, and it was really, really beautiful. And Sailor and the Good Witch did a beautiful job. Barry Gifford, the book ends not in a happy way, and nobody wanted it to end in an unhappy way. And that's when the Good Witch really came in and saved the day. Barry was really, really, really great to work with because he didn't care. I always say Barry's books I love, but they're very minimal. The chapters are short, they're minimal, and it's a certain way he writes. His writing has just got these seeds that sprout and go off, in all different directions. And so he said, David, you do whatever you want. And there'll be David Lynch's Wild at Heart and Barry Gifford's Wild at Heart. He was just really generous in that way. And, but his book, I loved and inspired, what came out. When you're just starting out, it's very difficult, unless you're from a wealthy family, it's very difficult to have the time and materials to live the art life. So you have to live the art life around whatever job you have to earn money to eat and have a place to live and work. And it's tough. But all the time that you're working to earn that money, you can be thinking, and you can be saving up your money and getting those materials and that as much time as you can to dedicate to your work, your work, which is the artwork. When I started out, all I wanted to be was a painter. And you don't need a lot of money to be a painter. I raised money by delivering prescriptions for a place, Herter's Drugstore in Alexandria, Virginia. And my father made a deal with me. I wanted to get a studio. He said he'd pay for half if I earned the money and paid for the other half. So I delivered prescriptions in the night in a red and white Jeep, and made enough money just working a couple nights a week to get a studio where I'd go after school and work until late at night. So I've had to do things to earn money, but I've gotten what I call a setup, which a setup is a place to work and the materials to do the tools and materials to do the work. So if you're interested in painting, you need a place to paint, and you need paints, and you need to get all this stuff together and the space, and then you call it a painting studio. Every single thing that we do, we need a place and machines or materials or equipment to make it happen. You asked about this little bungalow I had on Rosewood Avenue. I was there during a time when gasoline was 27 cents a gallon. I had a paper route. I delivered the Wall Street Journal. I picked up my papers at 11:30, and I made $200 a month. That was plenty of money to live. And I had I built a shed onto the side of the bungalow for a little tiny workshop. I built some sheds in the yard, and I had the ability to make things. I still didn't have enough money to paint the way I wanted to paint. AFI, at the time I went, the Center for Advanced Film Studies, was housed in the Greystone Mansion, a 55-room mansion in the best part of Beverly Hills, California. At night, no one was there, and I got to take over the stables. I had a mini studio for 4 years. I had all the equipment I could ever dream of. I had rooms for storage of equipment. I had places outside to build sets. I had a setup like you cannot believe for 4 years. And I even lived there. I lived in Beverly Hills, California on about a nickel a week. It was beautiful. And what we called the food room, where we ate, when I finished a pack of matches, I would do drawings on the inside. They're abstract, but these are all Italian Renaissance drawings. These have been found and collected, and now they're all framed. They're really beautiful little things. So these are my matchbook drawings from the days of Eraserhead. My friend Bushnell Keeler, who really was an inspiration in the early days, said an artist needs at least 4 hours of uninterrupted, guaranteed uninterrupted time to get 1 good hour of painting done. And this is so true. Every interruption just is like a knife stab in the middle of, thought and getting into it. And you start again. It's horrible. These days, there's interruptions around every corner, almost every second. I've said that you have to be somewhat selfish, but selfishness, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. It's, if you're with the right people, it cannot be seen so much as selfishness. It can be seen as that's your work in life, and you need the time and the materials, to do it. But you have to protect that space and that time, or you won't get anything done. I think we should all have as much technical knowledge as possible to make films. The technical knowledge of a camera, lenses, film stock, lighting, sound, editing machines. But I think the main thing is to learn by doing. When you have hands-on and are doing things, it brings you into the thing and you realize what this does, what that does, and opens up possibilities for the flow of ideas. You're learning by doing, not an intellectual understanding, but an experiential thing. That is so important as far as I'm concerned. All the different parts, get into it. And then in film school, if you're lucky, you'll be with other students. And if they're the right ones, you'll inspire one another and light a bigger fire. And you can meet people that you'll stay with, and work with. And it could be really, really great, this school learning environment. Maybe get a camera. Save up, figure out a way to get a camera and learn how to use it. Then maybe get some friends and write a scene based on ideas that you might have caught and shoot that. And then because you did that and you see what the camera did, you see like, oh, I should have been closer on that shot. That would have, and then I should have, and you start learning, and then maybe you reshoot the thing, or maybe new things have come along, and you learn by doing, and then more ideas will come, because now once you start seeing what this particular camera gives you, if you have this particular light, and you see this girl saying this thing in a certain way, you start getting the medium starts talking to you. And it's like it introduces itself to you. You get to know it. And then the more you get to know it, the more it helps you get ideas. Oh, if I did this, and that's an idea. Or, and then in they come. And so you just stay alert, do your work, don't worry about the world going by. It doesn't mean that you can sit around and not do anything. You've got to get your butt in gear and do it. And don't take no for an answer. Translate those ideas to cinema or to a painting or to whatever, and figure out a way to get it done. This is a sculptured screen for 6 men getting sick, minus this film and the sound. 2 of the faces are me and 1 is of Jack. And they're cast in resin, all put together to be this screen upon which the film fell.